Good morning, Failure to Stop. This is the Failure to Stop podcast. No, I should say good morning, Wolfpack. This is the Failure to Stop podcast network, the #1 channel where law enforcement first responders go to be informed and entertained 5 days a week. Today is Friday Case Breakdowns. We have a very special guest today who will be with us here shortly. His name is Anthony, and he is another fit responder, if you will. But first and foremost, I have somebody special sitting next to me. It's my son. And no, he's not going to be here for the whole breakdown because that would be inappropriate, but he and his brothers have started a new YouTube channel and they wanted to promote it, and they were like, yo, Dad, can we come on your show and promote our YouTube channel? And I was like, let me think about it. And then I thought about it, and the answer is yes. So before we get into the intro of today's show, which is brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack and factormeals.com/Wolfpack50, I'm going to just do a little quick special shout out to Duke Tansey. And what is the name of your YouTube channel?
The name of me and my brother's YouTube channel is Rad Kids Club. We are on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
What is Rad Kids Club?
It's where me and my brothers all interview like really cool action sports people. So like, and it could be anything like parachutes, rock climbing, anything.
Yeah. You guys just lost your first episode of Rad Kids Club on YouTube yesterday. What was your first episode?
My first episode, me and my brothers were at Jackalope. It's like a miniature X Games, and it is crazy awesome. We competed in it, and we got to meet a lot of people who were like crazy, and I've always wanted to meet, and it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, how did you do in the competition?
I did pretty good. I tried to do a really hard trick at the end, but I didn't land it. But later that night, I did it in front of the crowd, and they went wild.
Crowd went nuts.
Yeah,
there's like a couple thousand people there.
Yeah, it kind of hurt my ears a little bit.
Yeah, when they're cheering so loud, it hurt your ears. What were you thinking when you were standing up there? Because that was a big trick. By the way, he cavemaned off of, I don't know, it was like 12 feet, 13 feet.
12. I think it was like 12 or 13.
Yeah, down into a ramp. It was pretty impressive in front of probably over 1,000 people watching that night. But the crowd was super loud. Were you like super nervous up there? Everybody was like cheering for you and clapping. Did that make you nervous?
Yeah, I was a little nervous. I wasn't nervous about the people around me. I was just scared that I was gonna like eat it like so bad I can't get up.
Yeah,
I was afraid I was like gonna like break something. But I was like, you know what? I've done things like this before, and I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, and then you guys competed in vert. You guys competed in street. You competed in mini ramp. What did you do with the motocross?
The motocross, we got to sit like under the jumps, just about under, and while they like backflipped over us and stuff. And me and one of probably the biggest motocross guy there, Robbie Madison, made a bet. I would get on his bike, and me and him would do a wheelie, and then he'd drop in on my board at the mini ramp. And it was really cool. It was really funny.
That's all on your first episode?
Yeah, that's all on my first
Robbie
episode.
Madison is an absolute legend. He's the Red Bull rider. For those of you who don't know, he had the skis on his dirt bike, and he rode Pipeline, the wave, on a dirt bike. He also jumped this crazy bridge, and he's got a whole bunch of dirt bike records. But he was there, and then you guys got on the bike, did a wheelie, and then did he drop in? Yeah,
he dropped in. It was really cool. It was kind of funny watching him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it looked kind of sketchy, but it also looked professional at the same time. It was like funny.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. He's really nice to you guys.
Yeah, he's really cool.
So your new YouTube channel is out. You guys are probably going on an adventure every single week. What's your second episode's coming out? You guys already shot the second episode. It just hasn't released yet. What was the second episode? The second episode is we are at our local skate park with our local friends, and we all do a bunch of tricks, and it's really cool. Yeah, all right. We all just push each other, and it's really cool. All right, what's your Instagram handle?
Our Instagram handle is rkc.usa.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's radkidsclub.usa. So rkc.usa on Instagram, Facebook. But go over to YouTube, subscribe to these little rippers. They're all sponsored skaters, and they're phenomenal. And I'm so proud of you guys, and just putting on the show this weekend that you guys put in front of all those people at Jackalope, dude. As a father, I was like, that's what it's all about, man. You guys are gnarly. Love it.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, fix that camera for me and get out of here. All right, let's get into today's show. I think our special guest is here. Take us away, Joshua. Bring us in.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Yay! Pride Month! Yay! I'm not above it. Look, I've said it 1,000 times. I'll go full gay for one day. Just one day, though. I'm not doing it for the whole month, but I'll do it for one day. Full gay for a day. I go full Irish for St. Patty's. I go full Mexican for Cinco de Mayo. I'll go full gay for gay day. But one day, though. I'm not doing it the whole month. That's too much. That's too gay. That is too gay. Welcome to the Failure Stop Podcast channel. We got a Patrick Lyoya revisited. It's coming back in the news. Of course it is. Of course it's coming back in the news because it's an election cycle and there's not enough white cops killing black people right now. So we got to hype shit back up and put stuff where it doesn't fit in. We're going to revisit some of the things that Mike the Cop and I had to say about this only days after it happened. So we didn't know what we know now. And it kind of gives you a good glimpse of what our breakdowns actually do, because most of the speculations that we had days after this event, which did not coincide with what the media speculated. It looks like Mike the Cop and I were right at the time. It was also funny to see how many hundreds and hundreds of people were in the live chats before that YouTube channel was tanked and we had to start over, and the whole shadow banning and everything. The funny thing is that while I was researching this case, another article popped up talking shit about Mike the Cop and I and our stance on this case, only to find out now we were right. Before I bring on this special guest, show me this article real quick, Deadleg, that we found. Read that to us, brother.
So they're just going in to more or less talk about, there's a Stand With Sure Facebook page that got started right after the case came out, because as we're going to break down, go get into it again, shouldn't have got charged. But the fun part down here is he starts to talk about these posts on the new Stand With Sure Facebook page are that people may not be familiar with, are from groups that are pro-police, embrace the far-right ideologies, and varying capacities perpetuate racist stereotypes and ideologies.
Oh.
These three groups that Stand For Sure page are promoting our legal insurrection before the court and the world famous Failure to Stop podcast hosted by Mike the Cop and Eric Tansey.
Oh, dude, I'm blushing. The world famous. Hey. Anyway, looks like we were right, you were wrong in all of this. But while we revisit this, I also want to get into it with our special guest, who is still a police officer. His name is Anthony. I'm gonna let him introduce himself here, and then we'll go over maybe some things that we know now. Maybe we could do things some differently or whatnot. So we're gonna kind of revisit what Mike the Cop and I had to say, and then also get a fresh take on this from Anthony. Without further ado, let's bring on Anthony to the stage here. What's up, dude? Chiseled jawline for those of you just listening, which is 99.9%. This is a handsome guy with blue eyes. Very, very well. He's got this stereotypical CrossFit haircut, that high fade. It's kind of like a mixture between I'm a Marine or maybe a Navy SEAL, I'll let you guess, haircut. And then he's wearing the CrossFit t-shirt, which is also fitting. Anthony, how are you doing today, sir?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. No, thank you actually for coming on. Every other Friday we have a special guest when Tyler is not able to make it from work things. So who are you? What do you do? And then we'll jump into this.
Yeah, Anthony Shefferly, and I've been a cop for over 16 years in the let's just say North Indiana area, just so I don't get in trouble. So yeah. Still active. Been on a SWAT team for I think 14-ish years. Real active on the job, and been in gang unit, narcotics, been around the block. So, yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we appreciate you having me on here. We're gonna go through this case now. I went over this case in depth 2 years ago, I believe it was. It was just days or a week after this whole incident, and I want to go back and play real quick before we get into this. I want to recap what Mike the Cop and I had said about this 2 years ago. So let me bring this up real quick.
Joining us or on the live, there's no or. If you're just joining us, we are going to be breaking down the Patrick Lyoya shooting out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids PD officer involved shooting. And let's frame this in with Tansey's favorite thing that news outlets do anytime someone is shot by the police, and they immediately talk about all the emotional things about the person that got shot and paint them in the best possible light. Let's just frame it in. This is from NPR, so no one think I'm not getting my news from Fox News for you.
Since we have a lot of new listeners today, what he's talking about is, I've always said, if you're watching mainstream media, whether it's Fox News or CNN, if they ever try to elicit an emotion from you, then they are lying. If they have to start an article out and it sounds like this: he was a young man, father of 2, husband of 1. It's bullshit. If they were like, he had more fentanyl in his system that could have killed 4 elephants. 4 elephants, Jim. 4 elephants. He's lying. Like, you should be able to read facts as a journalist.
Just give the facts.
Just to give the facts and let everybody else's emotions just kind of speak for themselves. So I don't know what you're going to play, but I'm guessing.
I'm not playing anything. I'm just going to read. I'm going to frame this in for everybody. So if you have not heard of this, then now you will. And if you have, we're at the beginning here. And here we go. Patrick Lyoya fled it says the Congo, I think is what you would say, to escape war. A traffic stop in Michigan cost him his life.
Now, I will say that 2 years later, and having done this for 2 years, the reason why it says Patrick Lyoya fled Congo is because you're only allowed a certain amount of characters in the title. And so they probably took out the THE so they could have that. Real quick, let me add one more take on this from back then.
I would assume most of our listeners are educated enough to understand what play is being run on you from these articles, which is, honestly, this is why we do this show. Like, this is what Fridays are all about, because you are not going to get an objective information about cases like this. Certainly not going to get it colored. When you hear a story on CNN, on Fox, or I was just on Newsmax this week, even on these things, you're not going to get a cop perspective usually on these things in a detailed way, which is why we're doing this. So notice the title compares human life to traffic stops, which is not nonsensical, right? Then they start talking about his refugee status and his hope for life, which also has nothing to do with the situation. And then they bring up the officer's race, which also has absolutely nothing objectively to do with this. So that's how you know you're being spun, when none of this pertains to what actually happened. We are halfway through a major news outlet or a major media company, NPR, and they still haven't told you what happened. They're coloring everything. They're framing everything with assumptions that they know will lead you somewhere before they even ever tell you what happened. That's what's going on.
And this is the last
America
one.
meant opportunity for the family. So when Banza Mukale, the pastor at Restoration Community Church and himself a refugee from Congo, met Lyoya, he could sense a promising life ahead. He was a very young man who had the future. He had something in it, Mukale said. You could see him just trying to look for himself, how he could be better in the future. The future came to a sudden and tragic end earlier this month when Lyoya was shot and killed by a Grand Rapids police officer after he was pulled over for allegedly driving with an unregistered license plate. I will tell you now that it has been established that the license plate on the car was in fact a bad plate. In other words,
and so it goes on, and the articles go on, and in that podcast 2 years ago, I even speculated at the time that Lyoya, that it wasn't just the tag that the officer was alerted on. And I think Anthony and I will get in that shortly. But of course, we didn't know. There was no toxicology when we did this podcast 2 years ago. It hadn't come out yet. These were all speculations. And the media gets to speculate. When I speculate and I get it wrong, you guys are really quick to hit me up in the emails and the DMs, which I appreciate, because I think we should all be held accountable. But the news media, they get to speculate on all the things. So, Anthony, you're the one that chose this case today. You wanted to revisit it. What made you want to revisit this case?
Yeah, well, I kind of hadn't heard about it in a while, and honestly, like that's my hometown. So this was a big deal, like regionally, and that's where I grew up. So
okay,
yeah, so that's why.
Yeah. Now you don't know this cop or anything, right?
No, I have no connection to anybody there really anymore. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened if you watch the totality of like the stop and the way he approached it, and it, not getting ahead of myself, but like I think overall, once we start breaking it down, like I think it's my opinion is that like it's still a good shoot, but I always look at it and I'm like, what have I done like similarly? How would I have acted? I try to like put myself in that spot, and it's like I would not have dealt with the first part of that even remotely the same. And I think it may have changed the outcome in the end. So
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. I think one of the harder things to articulate as a police officer, though, especially a police officer like you are now, or like kind of I was. I like to tell guys, especially SWAT guys, go back to your academy. Go back to your academy and line everybody up on the wall. And didn't say, would 100% of the people on the wall at your academy handled it the same way you did? Or would some of them have handled it the way this guy did?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I think we forget that sometimes we're built a little bit different. And I wish all cops were built like us. But remember your police academy, like there were some people in there where you were like, oh God, I can't believe they're going to have a gun here in like a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's again, policing, I always tell people there's like, but you can't put you or I in a detective spot either. We would not thrive there. We would probably fuck up a lot of murder investigations or child sex crime. Like, could you imagine? Like, I don't know you from Adam, but like, I'll tell you right now, I would not do good in child sex crimes. Like, I'd probably be in prison.
Well, yeah, that's what I was joking around with one of the guys. I'm like, I don't know how you have any perps. I think they would all just kind of disappear. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's closed. This guy disappeared. Go for it.
Hey, wow. Nobody's seen him in years. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. So I don't know. Like, I think I think that's what's important for the courts is that you have to look at things reasonably, and we're kind of like on the unreasonable standard, right? Like you do CrossFit, we're all in shape. We've got, maybe some grappling experience, some military experience, paramilitary courses that you may or may not have taken. That's not really a clear picture of every single cop. There are a lot of cops out there that do none of those things and have none of those attributes, if you will. And then sometimes you're just a rookie and you don't know what you don't know. It's just like in CrossFit, right? Like if you were to show up, because you're wearing a CrossFit shirt, it's the only thing I can relate to. But it's like if I showed up to a WOD at the gym and they wanted me to do like a Murph style exercise or something like that, and I didn't know the techniques of climbing a rope or of doing the pull-ups, how far do you think I would get into that exercise without knowing?
Right. Yeah. Not real far. You'd probably fall off a rope and end up hurting yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm in really, really good shape. And if you taught me the technique of how to wrap my leg around the rope and use my feet and to use my knees and bring my knees to my chest and then extending upwards up this rope, then I could probably do a halfway decent job and make it a lot further in the exercise. But you only know what you know. And I know it sounds cliche, but in this case, if you don't have the tactics, if you don't have the knowledge, if you don't have the experience, then you're only going to go off of your highest point. I mean, we could argue that you're probably going to go more off your low, your least amount of training, right?
Yeah, and that's especially under that amount of stress. Like you're going to like devolve and fall to your lowest point of training. Like all that's going to be your default. It won't be the highest, that's for sure. And I think that's what we saw in the video. A lot of it, we watch that and really break it down. Like the amount of stress and the effect that stress has like on your nervous system and on your physiology. Like it is not like doing a CrossFit workout. It is not even like going into jits and get some rolls in. Like the stress is like, I don't know that you can really compare it to those, you know?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I tell that to people all the time, man. Like adrenaline is such a cruel mistress to deal with. Adrenaline can do wonders for you. It can make you live, right? A lot of adrenaline can keep you alive, but adrenaline can kill you just as quickly, because you can make terrible mistakes on adrenaline and things like that. And officers have to fight adrenaline in different capacities all the time. I don't like to drive fast. I don't like it. It scares me. I've seen tons of car wrecks. I was in a motorcycle accident when I was a younger kid, like not an accident. I was on a dirt bike and had a pretty big spill and got knocked out. But I've never ever felt comfortable. I got ejected from a Humvee when I was in the military, and that hurt really bad. And that's always given me the jitters because of how fast I got ejected and wasn't even thinking about, like, didn't even know it was possible. So I've always just been really afraid of car accidents. So when I'm in a car chase, and my book, the book deal is official and final, and I got my first payment from the book deal yesterday. So you guys are gonna get to read the book here soon. Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. But I get in a pretty bad car wreck in the book, even after I've told everybody how much I don't like driving fast. So for me, driving fast, or the thought of driving fast, gets my adrenaline way up. And it's like a mixture of adrenaline and fear. Like I want to catch the bad guy, but I'm also kind of really scared, and I'm not a good driver. So I know I don't do it. But you put me on the ground grappling with a bad guy, get me in a foot chase, jumping fences, dodging dogs, dipping up underneath, going into houses that I'm not familiar with, going into I will thrive all day long and be just fine. I could talk you through it. I could probably answer some Jeopardy questions while I do it. But turn the blue lights on and get me in a high speed pursuit, I fall to pieces. I can't do it. I'm not good.
Yeah. So like, actually, this is tons of stuff I deal with my like coaching programs, stuff like that. My background's in like my educational background's in psychology. So I have a master's in psych. But what you're talking about is not just adrenaline, but like your entire central nervous system and how that regulates based on your past experiences and then what you're doing now and how you kind of put it all together. So this is kind of like a little peek into like PTSD and what happens afterwards, but it's what your brain is constructing as major threats in that moment and how terrifying it is for you specifically. So like when you talk about like your experience being ejected versus your experience in like a fist fight on the ground, like your previous like ejection is going to change your state. It's going to change your nervous system. So being aware of that can actually help you kind of work through that in the moment. And that's what we don't see a lot. And I don't think I've ever heard any other than about 2 or 3 people inside of like law enforcement, tactical communities talk about like, hey, this is state management. This is how we manage our state. And it's a little bit more than just like box breathing and stuff like that. But it's actually understanding what your nervous system is doing in the moment so you can kind of harness it and bring it back under control.
Yeah, I wish we learned things like that. However, I think it's more important that we learn how to deal with stage 3 cancer on top of autism, in case you run into somebody with autism and stage 3 cancer at the same time that's also naked. You know what I mean? Like that's important because we see that every day in our career. We never see driving fast and having emotional reactions to PTSD, or maybe how to identify a few genders at one time and using the right pronouns. It's crazy. We have all these in-service classes and it's always about like how not to rape somebody. I haven't met a cop. Personally haven't met a cop. I know that there are cops out there that do it, but I haven't met one that's out there just serial raping in the police department. However, I got every year to sit through a class on let's not be rapers. But I never got to sit in a class about this. So we know where the priorities lie in law enforcement these days. It's all political. We know that. Let's get into this breakdown and see what exactly is going on. Maybe some of you guys don't remember the Lyoya case, or maybe you guys are new to the network, the channel. We'll play by the way, this guy's name is Lyoya, Lyoya. I don't know how to pronounce it. He is from the Congo. He was a Congo refugee. I don't think that gives you an excuse to just break the laws. I actually was in the Special Forces qualification course with one of the the Lost Boys. If anybody remembers the 60 Minutes breakdown of the Lost Boys, which was a whole tribe of parentless children living in the Congo that survived in a community of just children in the middle of the jungle. And I guess 60 Minutes, Josh, you have to fact check me. I think it was Diane Sawyer ended up adopting like all of them, all the lost kids, or like 40 of them or something crazy like that. I can't remember the story exactly. But one of these lost boys joined the Green Beret program. And luckily for me, I got to go to survival school with him. And that was pretty interesting. I wasn't on his team, unfortunately. That would have been really good. It's like, it would be like being partnered with, I don't know, Akeem Olajuwon in a game of, 4-on-4 basketball. You know what I mean? Like this dude's a survivor by nature. So it would have been cool to be partnered with him, but I wasn't. So, why I say that is because he came from the same place and wasn't committing the same types of crimes that Patrick Lyoya was. And by the way, as you saw how the media painted him and how our last breakdown was, the media had nothing but great things to say about Patrick, all about what church he went to, what school he went to. They didn't tell you what we know now, is that Patrick had multiple domestic violence abuse cases and an active warrant for his arrest at the time. He was charged with 8 possessions of stolen motor vehicle, which were all pled down to misdemeanor possession of stolen property. So what was felony possession of stolen motor vehicle has been pled down 8 times. 8 times to misdemeanor possession of stolen property. Do you guys have stolen, the reason why it's pled down that way is because I think these criminals, they all articulate that, well, I didn't know the car was stolen. I didn't. My friend let me borrow it. And it comes as he said, she said, and the courts don't want to bother with it. By the way, stolen motor vehicles are up like 300% in the last 3 years right now, or 3,000%. Fact check me on that, Josh, if you get time. Do you guys have this problem in Indiana?
Oh yeah. The gun laws are a little different too. So we get that a lot with firearms, where it's like, hey, I had a stolen firearm, but I didn't know it was stolen. So all good. See you later. We'll take it and put it into evidence, and it'll be destroyed and no charges. That's happens all the time.
Absolutely insanity. So now when you're behind a car like this in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you run the plate and it comes back fictitious, I know here in Raleigh, North Carolina, stolen. I mean, I had one kid, he's now dead, but he stole like 33 cars in one summer, and I caught him almost every single time. Sometimes I go just right to his house because I know that's where he was going. And they would not take out secure custody on him because he was only like 14 or 15 at the time. And his mother would yell at me and tell me to leave him alone, that he ain't doing nothing wrong. And, and the kid was super obnoxious. The mother got to the point where she wouldn't pick him up at the station. We had to take him home, and we got in that battle with her. We're like, no, you come to the station. And then she would call the judges and the clerks and everything. And they're like, no, you can't, you have to take him to her house. So just, at every stage of the turn, big government was always on the side of this kid who was just stealing cars and with no consequence. So where I worked in my jurisdiction, a fictitious plate more often than not led to a stolen vehicle. It was very rare that somebody was like, oh, I put the wrong tag on the wrong vehicle. This was supposed to go on my truck. No, it was almost always like fictitious plate equals either the plate's been stolen or the car's been stolen. Is that consistent with you guys, or is that different?
Yeah, we get that. What we get, I've seen a decent amount too, where it's like, hey, people just switching the tags. They don't want to pay for plates, stuff like that, and it is actually their vehicle, or or it's stolen and it hasn't been reported yet. That kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, we see that all the time too, where it's like, oh yeah, F&F plate, and then boom, stolen car. Vehicle.
Yeah, and I think if you're a rookie officer and you get a fictitious plate, I think it would be reasonable for your blood pressure to go up, adrenaline to spike, especially if you're not used to it. You know what I mean? I don't think mine would 100%. Spike 6 or 7 years in because I've seen it 1,000 times. But you're in your first year, you get that fictitious plate, and you're by yourself, you don't have a partner with you. You might be like, oh, okay, well, I might have something here. It's like being a fisherman, right? You get that big nibble, and you're like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, that's
Rookie's
like
got a
every
rookie.
run when you're new. Then your first year, every run. I'm doing this shit by myself. Like, okay, how do I navigate
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. It's like that fishing, me and my sons have got into fishing a little bit, and I haven't fished in years and years, and it just, I forget that how exciting it is to get that nibble, and you're like, oh, and then that's kind of what it's like when you're a cop and you get that first DUI or you get that first, mercy. It's like that nibble, and you go, so let's play the tape here. Joshua, I don't know how you have them organized. So obviously this is gonna be graphic content today. Somebody's gonna get shot in the head. So
this is the body camera first.
Okay. By the way, it's 8:00 in the morning. We'll go ahead and pause there. One thing I didn't mention in my last breakdown. I don't know about Indiana. I know that the most stolen motor vehicles occur in the early mornings here in Raleigh, especially because it's cold. Because what people do is they start their car, they turn the heater on, get that windshield defrosted, and then they go inside and they make the eggs, they make the oatmeal, they make the coffee. They read the paper while their car is essentially warming up and defrosting. And then they go outside and, I've been, my car's been burgled or robbed or stolen or whatever. So in the morning time is when we caught most of our stolen cars. Is that anywhere consistent with Indiana at all?
Yeah, absolutely. We used to get a bunch of them on second shift too. Dudes running into the gas station, leaving their cars on. I still, for the life of me, won't understand why you would leave your car running in the ghetto and run into the gas station unless you want it to be stolen.
I see it every day here, and I don't live in the ghetto. I live out in the country, and people leave, like, they got those big squatted trucks that's real popular here, and they leave the bass on with the windows down, all the lights inside, and then they just walk inside. And I'm like, God, I hope somebody fucking steals that thing. I hope somebody fucking steals it and leaves it on a train track. But go ahead, hit play.
1913.
All right, so for you listening,
hey, stay in the car. Stay in the car. Stay in the car. Get in the car.
All right, go ahead. Pause it really fast. I think it's always important to bring this up. We kind of deal with things as routine. The routine here would be you pull a car, you light up a car, it pulls over, they roll down the window. A lot of times they put their hands out the window, or they put their hands up in the rear view mirror, they put their hands on the steering wheel. There's a lot of things that happen that are pretty consistent. What's not consistent is somebody stopping in the middle of the road without pulling over and then just jumping out of their car. Right?
Yeah.
It's not typical. I mean, it happens, but it's not typical. And I think it's reasonable to say that this would make your heart start pumping. No?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime that's ever happened, it's almost 100% for me is like we're running, we're chasing someone. Like
jump and run.
Yep.
Huge indicator. That or we're getting in a gunfight. One of the two. It's not good though. It's not good. Unless it's an Asian woman, then it's expected. Like if they jump out and it's an Asian woman, I'm like, oh, I see what we got going on here. And I'm like, hey, I'm just going to give you a warning because now I know that you're not drunk. You're just an Asian woman. I say that respectfully. Josh's mother is Chinese. So, and his wife is Chinese. So, are they good drivers, Josh?
Mom doesn't drive. Wife is
Exactly.
an extremely good driver though.
Okay. Well, she's got a doctorate and lives in the United States, but I bet you if your mother-in-law got a driver's license, she would be one of the world's worst drivers.
She doesn't do very good on the simulator that I have right now. So that's why we stay on the simulator.
Listen, stereotypes are there for a reason, baby. It's not all bad. It's okay. We love her. We love mom. We love her. She's a wonderful human being. Just wouldn't want to be on the highway with her. All right, hit play.
Dude, I'm stopping you. You have a license? Do you have a license?
All right, stop right there. You got any problem with the dude? Now remember, bro, this is very close to George Floyd, COVID. I mean, like it's still super fresh in everybody's brains right now. So this whole pillars of community policing and like, we don't have authority anymore. We're not paramilitary. That was like super big at this time.
Yeah. So do I have a problem with what did you say?
the dude, get back in your car, bro. Like, he's trying to play it chill.
The verbiage that he was using. No, I honestly, I talk like that too. But my big issue here is I would have been like, dude, hey, turn around. I'm patting you down and probably putting you in handcuffs right now. Like, that's what I would have done. Personally, like I always look at it as far as variables, right? So what variables can I control right now? Like, I can control his movement because he's already not doing what I expected. He's already not doing what I asked him. Even within the first 2-3 seconds of this encounter, he is not being compliant to either what is socially accepted as appropriate, like responses to being stopped by the cops, and he's not being receptive to what I'm saying. And that's like, those are huge indicators that shit's about to get real here in a second if you don't take control.
Right. Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. Go ahead, hit play.
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What done?
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What do you want?
The plate doesn't belong on this car.
All right, so go ahead and stop there. I don't know like why we haven't just put this out in the public, but any time that a suspect starts questioning you like this, they are stalling. It is a tactic. If somebody says I'm not resisting and they're punching you in the face, somebody needs to put this out there to the public. Like, that doesn't mean they're not resisting. Just because you say I'm not resisting and you've got your hands up underneath your stomach and you won't let the cops pry that arm. It's like when you get that, when somebody's got you in that Kimura and you're in that crab position, no, I'm not going to let you have it. Like, I am resisting him getting that arm bar. It is still resistance. So this whole concept of, oh, well, he didn't know what was going on, as Ben Crump would try to articulate this to the public, and to which the public would respond with, well, he's from the Congo, he seems confused. No, this is an everyday tactic. This is like running the option in college football. Once you've seen the option once, you know it every football game for the rest of your life. Like, that's the option. When they're lined up like that, the quarterback takes the 2 steps to the left, he's either going to pitch it or he's going to hold it and run. That's his only options there. This is that play. Like, we can see it clear as day. That's what this is.
Yeah, from just a absolute tactic, what you're saying, like, he's stalling to figure out how to get out of this problem, and he's trying to figure out, and that's that what I do wrong, I didn't do anything, why you harassing me, stuff like that. Like, it's just an effect to like give him more time to come up with more options as to how to leave that situation, and that could be basically one of 2 options. He's either going to run away, or he's going to fight you, or fight you and then run away. Like, there's, like I said, there's nothing good coming from delaying, just grabbing him and putting him in handcuffs. Like, there's nothing, like, nothing good's come from that.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people don't know about this case is there's somebody else in the car.
Yeah. It took me a second too. I was like, why are they blurring these windows out? Oh, there's another person there.
Yeah, and if you're already in the confrontation with one guy, by the way, this cop is also trying to worry about his radio. He's also probably ran to see if this car is stolen in a database and it hasn't come back yet. And the car just stops in the middle of the road. There's so many indicators right now. And I think the cop's brain is probably working faster than his lips. So the cop is doing the same thing. He's trying to say anything or say something while his brain tries to figure out what the fuck he's going to do. Because he doesn't know, right? Like, none of this is normal to this cop. I can tell you right now that his brain is like, oh shit, indicator. And he's trying to remember, 8th month of the academy. Don't put him back in the car. Wait, no, keep him out of the car. Wait, I can put my hands on him. Wait, I can't put my hands on him. I got to see if he speaks English. Like, I can see him almost in that panic, that like kind of day one panic, if you will.
License or no? Do you have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What do you want?
The plate does not belong on this car.
I feel like, knowing what I know now, though, my hands would have been on him already. Like, at least it'd be on that back of his shirt at minimum. But I guess the cop probably has his hand on his gun and probably thinks he can draw faster than this guy can get in that car and get a gun out. But people are afraid, especially in 2022, dude. People were afraid to put hands on folks. I can't tell you how many rookies I had that just like refused to put their hands on anybody. They would tase them and then not jump on them, or spray them and not jump on them. It's like,
yeah, you're making it worse, not better. But that's, like, again, variables. Like, what variables are controllable? If he's out of the car, like all the variables inside the car, assuming that other person's not a threat or not an immediate threat, like all the variables are with him. So like keep them with him. Don't let him back into the vehicle. And even if you did, like looking at just the angles here, like, all right, from a grappling standpoint, from a tactics standpoint, like, man, you are outside his shoulders right now. He is turned around to you. If you want to grab him, like, now's the time to do it,
Yeah. Yeah. I bet you he's worried about that other guy in the car. I know that sucks for me. Like when you don't think there's somebody else in the car and you get up there and you're like, oh shit, I got
five
two
dudes
people to deal with. Like that does suck. I've been there a few times.
Right there.
I mean, at this point, it's also confusing because he's being chill. You know what I mean? He's not like diving in the car. Like if you're a cop, you're probably expecting him to like jump in the car or do something crazy or like start throwing out more indicators. But now he's like kind of stopped doing that. He's just being chill. And that makes you go like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is just like a Congo confusion. Like he doesn't speak great English. Maybe he just doesn't know how to, you know what I mean? Like the wheels are turning.
No. Stop. Put your hands on.
Yep.
Stop. 1915. You got one running. North, south. Stop. Stop. Okay. Dang. Stop.
Before this gentleman goes to sleep, today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com. Sleep so good it's scary. Right now, using the promo code Wolfpack, you can get 50% off of anything on Ghostbed, from the pillows, the cooling sheets, the adjustable base, the zero gravity massage mode, deluxe mattress frame and mattress, all that 50% off right now. I have got to field test for Ghostbed. It's in my bedroom as we speak. Was the massage topper that's brand new. It comes out. It's incredible. It like pops your back. So it uses air and air bubbles. It'll like push your shoulder blade up and then drop it down. That thing lifts up like 1.5 feet. Like it's laying flat, but like when it starts to fill up with air on one side, it like adjusts your back. It rolls your back. It stretches you out. I did that 1 hour roll-a-thon, grapple-thon where I sparred for 1 hour straight with no breaks. The next day I spent 3 hours just laying on my Ghostbed massage topper. I'm not even joking. Everything that they make has the cooling sheets, the cooling technology. I've had a lot of people spend the night at my house, and the first thing they'll say is like, hey dude, why is the pillow in the guest room wet? And I'm like, oh, it's not wet. It's the cooling technology in the pillows. It just makes the pillow always feel cold, like the cold side of the pillow. So you don't have to like flip your pillow over and over and over again. I travel every weekend, as you guys just met my kid on here. Being sponsored skateboarders, we travel all around the country almost every weekend skateboarding. So I'm staying in hotels and bed and breakfast, Airbnbs, bed and breakfasts all the time. And I will not go without my Ghostbed pillow. We all have our own travel pillows that we take with us. But Ghostbed has been a huge sponsor of this show from day one. It's almost going on like 4 years now. And we could not do anything. They pay everybody on this network. So head over to ghostbed.com, use the promo code Wolfpack. Originally, it was supposed to be 50% off for just law enforcement and active military. But then to have people put in their promo to submit their driver's license and all that things, Ghostbed said, you know what, it's too much. If they listen to Failure to Stop, they're obviously big fans, and we need fans just as much as we need cops, and they're probably cops and first responders. Just go 50% off site-wide for the promo code Wolfpack. So, and it's just been huge for us for so long, and we love them. So head over to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Our other sponsor today is factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. If you want to look chiseled, if you want to have a chiseled jawline like John Cena or Anthony over here, it all starts with a healthy diet. You don't get a chiseled jawline by eating shit tons of Krispy Kreme donuts, although I wish you could get a jawline like that by eating Krispy Kreme donuts, because I would have a very chiseled jawline if that was the case. But a healthy diet and a good night's sleep makes you look as young as Anthony. Anthony's probably 21 years old. No, I'm sorry. He's probably 40 years old, but he looks like he's 21 years old. And that's probably because he sleeps good and he eats well. But Factor Meals is meal planning to the next level. Chef prepared, fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door, ready to go. Put it in a microwave. You got a microwave at the SWAT house?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a piece of shit, isn't it?
It's very dirty.
And it's probably like cheap as fuck, right? Yeah. Like where it's like a 2-minute bag of popcorn's probably got to go in there for 4 minutes. Even that peasant level SWAT house microwave will heat these meals up in 2 minutes. Even the shittiest of microwaves. So while everybody's eating like a peasant in the SWAT house, they got their like bologna sandwich or like their chicken and rice, their bland chicken and rice, because they're all you SWAT dogs. I got my chicken beans and rice every day. You can actually be getting the same amount of protein in the protein heavy meals that they have, which is like 50 grams plus of protein in each meal, all super healthy. All the ingredients are listed. You can go calorie conscious. If you're trying to lose weight, you can do protein heavy. If you're trying to get jacked, you can do vegan and vegetarian if you're a firefighter and that's what you're into. It's all so good. It smells wonderful. Even the salmon in the microwave, it doesn't make everything smell like salmon. It's wonderful. They also have the breakfast shakes, breakfast smoothies. They have regular smoothies, the after workout stuff. They've got they got everything on there. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Head over to factormeals.com. Promo code Wolfpack50 for 50% off your first order. Factormeals.com. Promo code Wolfpack50. Start meal planning today. 4th of July is right around the corner, and I like to guilt-free eat hot dogs with Joey Chestnut, one of the greatest athletes of all time, who just sucks those hot dogs down every year. He does it for America. I remember the year I watched Joey Chestnut every year beat those records. I watched him sucking hot dogs while putting another dude that tried to attack him on stage in a headlock. Do you remember that 2 or 3 years ago?
I don't remember that at all. So a beater, right?
Joey Chestnut is like 8 or 9 time, fact check me, Josh, 8 or 9 time like world champion hot dog eater. He's got all the world records. He's also eaten the most Big Macs in an hour as well. But Joey Chestnut, just a champ, just fucking America's champion. And about 2 or 3 years ago, he was on stage shoveling these things down for America. I mean, there was like a Chinese person and this guy, like, I mean, it's like Rocky IV, fights could change and yous could change. We all could change. So he's sucking these things down. Somebody rushes the stage to try to thwart his, 6th or 7th world championship. Joey swings around, launches him into a headlock, and continues to shovel hot dogs down his throat. What? Here it is. Here's the tape. Whack! Wham! Look at this. Yo! Oh, let's go, Joey. Look, still just going, bro. Doesn't miss a beat, dude. Yeah. It was a protester. It's probably like, I don't know what they were protesting 2 or 3 years ago, but man, God, what an athlete, dude. So I know that when I'm watching that, it gets me hyped up. I want to eat a hot dog and I feel guilty. So what I do is I lose a bunch of weight 2 weeks up to 4th of July, so that when I'm eating on 4th of July, all the ho-hos and chili dogs and everything, I don't feel like a fat piece of shit. I feel good about myself. So now's that time. It's June. It's coming up. So like, let's start getting ready for 4th of July. And that way we can be a shitbag with shamelessly. If you that one. Factormeals.com, promo code Wolfpack50. Okay, go ahead and play the good parts of this video. And I say good parts for a reason.
Okay. Get your hands behind your back. Okay. Hands behind your back. Okay.
By the way, turtling is not putting your hands behind your back.
Get your hands behind your back. Okay. 1950, start with more cars. Okay. Stop. Okay. Stop resisting.
I read in a report that when he says stop resisting and he says the man's feet are right next to each other, so he's clearly not resisting, your shoulders, not your feet. If I want to move my shoulders left or right to turn on you, I don't necessarily have to get my feet moving first. If you're trying to control my torso and I'm moving or rotating my torso, the person on top doesn't really even get to see the feet if they're not trained. So it's still resisting. I can still feel your resistance. I can still feel you moving your arms away from me. So just because his feet weren't moving, it doesn't mean that he wasn't resisting. Also, I'd like to bring up this quick story. There's a man that trains at my gym, and he's a MMA fighter. Just had a cage fight this last weekend. He's 21 years old, 140 pounds exactly. And a huge nerd, wears the Clark Kent style glasses, 140 pounds, tucked in shirt, kind of looks just looks like a nerd. We had a SWAT dog party, UFC watch party at another SWAT member's house, and this kid was there, and we were telling the SWAT guys, the other SWAT guys, because the two SWAT guys that I train with at this gym had all the other SWAT guys there, and so we were like, that's the baddest motherfucker in this room, this 140-pound kid. And they were all like, what? I will fucking murder that kid. Like, okay, I get it. Jiu-jitsu, that's fine. He's going to wrestle me, but I will fucking murder him if I punch him. So we had the SWAT team. They went to the gym to train in the morning to grapple. And 3 in a row, 3 big dudes your size went up against this kid standing. And he was like, they don't do jiu-jitsu, these guys. One was a boxer, but they didn't do jiu-jitsu. He's like, do whatever you want to do. Like, I got my MMA gloves on. Let's go. He got all of them to tap under 2 minutes, all 3 of them. And the 3 that he tapped could not do a second round with him. They were that tired.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, dude, I ain't got it in me. And then these guys all do CrossFit. They train, they work out 3 times a day. So what I'm trying to say here is that I remember the first time I ever grappled in BJJ, I could not do a 2-minute round. I think I made it 30 seconds. Do you do any jits or anything like that?
Yeah, I train jits, 3-4 times a week.
Okay. Do you remember your first time sparring?
Oh yeah, the first time, like full go, like for real, like that.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at the SWAT dudes because like I literally had that happen where I'm like this. I remember getting swept by this 100. I think he was 150 pounds, but like the same deal. And this dude was like a spider monkey, and he would just like easy just sweep me, take my back, choke me out. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how in the fuck is he doing this? Like, this should not be a thing. And then just getting so tired. It's like, I wasn't good enough, but at least I still had like strength and stamina. And now after 2 minutes, I have nothing, like zero.
Yeah, like your fingers don't work. Like your legs feel like lead weights. Like you can't stand up. The guy's just like all he does is he's got his legs wrapped around you, and you're just like, you can deadlift 500 pounds, but for some reason, like when you're 2 minutes into sparring and somebody's got their like 25-pound legs wrapped around you, you're like, oh, like trying to deadlift it up. It's super funny. So I say all that because this gentleman is out of breath and he's huffing and puffing, and I've seen a lot of comments about like, oh well, he's out of shape, he's in bad shape. I don't care how good of shape you're in. If you get into a grapple and you are not a grappler, all of that CrossFit goes right out the window. You might make it 2 minutes and 30 seconds if you're in really good shape, but that's it. You're buying yourself seconds, not minutes. It all goes away because you're not breathing. You're using every single muscle. You didn't even know that your eyeballs had muscles, but you're using those when you're wrestling. And so this cop, obviously not trained, obviously not a grappler, and it's very tiring. And you can feel that. And you said that. And I'm not going to take a knock on this guy's physical endurance because if you're not trained, that doesn't exist. Is that fair?
I think it's totally fair. Another thing that you really got to look at is like, as good a shape and as decent as a grappler as I am and that you probably are, like if we get into an immediate like 0 to 100 fight like this, like you're gonna shift hard, like sympathetic, and it's gonna take you to a space where you're gonna hyperventilate like that. And whether you're trained or not, now how trained you are will dictate how fast you can pull it back in. You know what I mean? That's that nervous system response that we talked about previously. But yeah,
that's why it's so important, man. I think every officer should train once a week.
Oh, for sure.
I've been fighting it for years, dude. 2 years ago, I used to get mad at Mike the cop for talking about BJJ. We get done with the show and be like, dude, stop talking about BJJ. Nobody gives a fuck.
Well,
and now I'm like,
yeah, with BJJ, like it's a great thing to do because you can take those little tools and apply it directly to what we're watching. But whatever you're gonna do, like you have to just get down and fight. You know what I mean? And that's really what this is. Like we call it resistance, but if you watch what he's doing, like he's fighting the cop, and the cop is fighting him back. Like it is a fight. Like let's not call what it's not or call what it is.
Sure. And fights are never pretty. All right, turn that volume back up.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop resisting.
Oh, that sucks. You know what I mean?
Notice where his hand placement is on the taser, though.
Whose
The suspect's hand is firmly grabbing the taser.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and that's just so disheartening when that happens to you. It's never happened to me, but I could just imagine how I would feel. I'd be like, oh, no.
Let go of the taser.
What's the problem?
Let go of the taser.
Okay. So he loses body camera footage because it gets turned off. The camera comes back on as he's pumping on this dude's chest, which is going to do nothing when every time you compress somebody's chest and brain squirt out the top of their head. I've seen it tried, though. I've seen many cops try to do this. I almost inertly, it's like a sympathetic reflex for me to laugh. Hey, let's play the whole thing in its totality from the, do we have it from the other car cam? We'll watch it straight through and then we'll dive into it for another 5 or 6 minutes and we'll be done.
This is from the bystander.
All right, so this is the passenger in the car, or no, this is just a passenger on the sidewalk?
I'm not sure if it's from the car or from the sidewalk.
No, he ain't grab no tasers. I see that.
Let go of the taser. Drop taser. Get back.
I don't want to play it a bunch of times over and over again, but
No,
right
that's
before,
fine.
you can see in his right hand, the suspect's right hand, you can clearly see the taser.
Yeah.
At that point, he's holding it. You know.
Now, I obviously from a 40,000 feet up view, we all know that you could just back off with that gun and start giving commands then. I don't think in the moment when you don't have any experience in training and you haven't been in certain scenarios and situations in your career and you have no oxygen getting to your brain because you're hyperventilating and everything's going on and you're just picking up on cues and you're like, okay, academy, taser in hand, shoot. There isn't a critical thinking process that is allowed to happen there. I think 40,000 feet up though, you back off and you don't shoot the guy. Although I don't see that you charge this officer because we don't get to, that's not how the criminal justice system works for the police. We don't look at it from a 40,000. We look at it from his perspective, from his point of view on the ground. And I think on the ground, now, if he was in control, if his breathing was normal and it was good, and we find out that this guy's like, you know, a Muay Thai fighter or something like that, and he's got an experience and he's been on SWAT team and he's got, 18 years on the road, then we can look at it a little bit differently. But hearing this guy's breath, seeing his techniques that don't exist, this guy, he has nothing else to go off of. So I don't think it's a criminal action on the police is saying, if anything, it's just a negative mark on training in the department. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can see that like as it progresses, he gets like more and more out of options to the point where his taser was gone. I think that was a Taser 7 too, so it had another cartridge in it, and then which makes it like even more of a justifiable, shoot. But yeah, you can just see he's out of options, and at that point, like as you watch like the dude like push up again and base up again, like he almost flips right over the top, like the cops like getting handled by this guy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have any more options. Like that's all he's got.
Yeah. And he didn't have the training or the wherewithal to back off, right? Because when you're in that moment, you feel glued to him. I watch videos of myself grappling. I'm like, why didn't I just stand up? Or why didn't I just roll to my back? But when you're in that moment, you're target fixated on somebody's chest or their fat, or you're sometimes you hold on to somebody, and that keeps you from moving to another part where all you have to do is, if you just let go, then you would be free. But you get something and you hold on to it, right? When you're new, you hold on to it. You're like, I got an arm. I'm going to keep this arm. I'm going to keep this arm. Even though that they are, doing something else that is going to hurt you. And I think in this moment, the cop got on the guy's back and he was like, I have to stay. This is the hill I die on. I have his back. I'm not getting off his back. I'm not getting off his back. And then he starts losing his back and he's like, oh shit. And like I said, when you're in that moment, you don't really critically think enough through it. Now, let's add this to the mix. We speculated on this in the last time I broke this down. Was the guy looked drunk to me? He appeared to be drunk to me the way his car stopped. We now know that he was a 0.21?
0.29.
So almost a 0.3, a 0.29, which I bet you the second reading was a 0.3, but they always go with the lower reading, right?
Well, it depends on if they're taking it from the toxicology, that's just coming straight from the machine that it's going through. They're taking the blood alcohol straight from that.
Gotcha.
Versus the one when you present a breath sample, you take the first results are supposed the one you're supposed to take.
Okay. We were always supposed to take the lower of the two. I don't know if that was a policy or not, but that's just the standard operating procedure that we went by. But I wasn't a DUI guy, so don't take anything that I say is like that's what you should or shouldn't do. So now we know that this guy is extremely drunk. Also, he had somebody else in the car, and when you're fighting somebody, a big sense of panic is, what is this other guy doing? And is this guy going to come up behind me, and is he going to get in the fight? And I will tell you, and you'll read the story in my book, where I'm in one of the bigger fights of my career at the beginning of my career. And I tried to articulate and explain how tired I was and how afraid I was that he was going to get a second wind. Obviously, neither one of us were going to get a second wind, but I remember the panic setting in of, oh my God, he's going to get a second wind and I don't have a second wind. I can only imagine that this officer is probably thinking the same thing. Like, I don't have any more gas in the tank. And if homeboy in the car is getting in, I'm done. I'm out. This is my last day on earth. And that sucks. That's a shitty feeling when you're that fucking tired. I guess if we want to go back to CrossFit, you're in the middle of that WOD and you just desperately want to finish it, but you can't do the movement because it doesn't work, right? Like your arms just, they're not there.
Yeah, you are cashed out, like localized muscle fatigue, systemic fatigue, like it's gone. Yeah.
And that's what he's going through right now. And so, yeah, I at the end of the day, I'll let you close it out. You said you would do a lot of things different. Let's quickly go over some of the things that, maybe learning points that maybe this could have been avoided.
So, I mean, this is just from 16 years of seeing it and doing it. But like you can prevent like even sketchy shootings that are still good, right? By being more aggressive. And I've had this conversation with guys at work where it's like, a dude will get into a shooting and another guy will be like, I've been in that situation like, 20 times before and I never had to shoot, or it didn't work out that way for me. And it's like, yeah, but we're more aggressive. So like that dude starts to get out of the car, he's probably going to get grabbed and thrown down right away. And we're going to know that it's a fight right away. And the fight's going to be over before there's a chance for it to progress to what it did, and then, and even if it does, and sometimes it does, right? But you look at some of the positions And this goes to a training thing that I think, I don't know that academies will ever be able to do this, but we need to be able to articulate it to each other. Like you could see when the dude stood back up and he had him like double chicken winged. And I was like, well, that's a pretty good spot. Now, if he starts fighting again, I have his back. And even if you don't know jujitsu, like just playground tackle him and throw him on the ground. And that's where it's like he's worried about doing moves. You can see he's trying to think of techniques. It's like you don't need technique now. You're in the middle of some shit. Like you got to take care of it. So pick the dude up, slam him on his face, and slap him into handcuffs. Stop thinking about moves. And unless you train all the time, like regularly, like I was talking about this last night at Jits. I was like watching really good wrestlers. And my stand-up's okay, but it's not like a good wrestler, right? So I have all these things that I want to do, and then when I get on the mat, it's like they're all gone, Yeah. It's like, so what do I do? If I think about the techniques, I get blast doubled and I'm done. But if I think like, all right, I got one thing I'm going to try to do, or I'm just going to like playground bully the student and throw him, like then I do okay. So if you don't have like a huge breadth of knowledge, then you just got to default and know you're in a fight, and that's okay. And you're going to get through it and you're going to be fine, but we think about, worry about techniques and fallout and what things look like and how it's like, dude, sometimes, like most of the time, if you act aggressive in the interest of officer safety, you're going to be A-okay. And the courts have shown that time and again, as long as you can honestly articulate like, hey, this guy got out of the car. I know based on training experience, that's a huge threat to me. He's not listening to commands, grab him. You can do that.
Right.
And I think we're just so scared in a training environment to tell people that that's okay to do. And from an application standpoint, like these new cops are afraid, like you said, they are afraid to grab people and they're afraid to be proactive. And it's like, hey, I don't know if you realize this or not, but we can actually, like, if I tell you to put your hands behind your back and you don't do it, like I can hit you first. And that is okay. But nobody wants to do it because, oh, that's heavy-handed. It's like, no, that if you understand Graham v. Connor, you understand Tennessee versus Garner and other applicable cases, as well as like your own moral code, and you can sleep with what you do at night, assuming you're not a psychopath, like you're gonna be fine. And you probably prevent a lot of these variables from spinning out of control and having to shoot somebody when you can just be more aggressive and stop it before it gets there.
Yeah, I have said that many times. You got to be the alpha, and sometimes you got to peacock to be the alpha. If you're not that guy, then you got to be that guy. You got to beat on your chest like you're that guy, and that takes the fight out of somebody. I've said on here 1,000 times when we watch people run. One of my favorite things to do as a cop is once I saw you look past me or look through me, I would just say, hey, listen, you're not gonna run. And if you do, I got like 500. I might not catch you, but there's like 700 dudes here. They're going to catch you. We got helicopters. We got night vision goggles. That's not an option. So just like, let's just take that one off the table. And they'll be like, oh, I wasn't going to run. And I was like, I know you weren't. That's why you're going to sit down for me. Right. And they're like, yeah. That's why I'm going to sit down for you. People will be like, man, I can't believe that actually works. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sometimes you just got to call them out and let them know that like, hey, you're not that guy. We're not going to do this today. We're going to win. And we're one way or the other. And that kind of like takes the fight because nobody really wants to lose. But I think in this case, it's hard. It's hard to tell this guy to be more aggressive in 2022. Biden just coming into office and, everybody was pretty anti-police in 2022. Hollywood was real anti-police. They were just coming off of all of these riots. And we remember how like the cities got turned upside down. And I bet you if you were a young cop in 2022, you were like, I hope I'm not the guy that gets the whole fucking town burnt down. And so you start off with this, hey, dude, no. And you're like I would have been like, hey, dude, have a seat, bro. No, not today. Like this guy was like, hey, dude, okay, hand me your ID because he's living in that reality, and that was a shitty time. I hope we don't go back to that, but I feel like, I don't know, give it a couple more weeks. We'll be back there. It's election season. It has to happen. They're dying for it to happen. They tried to make it happen in Florida with the Air Force guy, and we're just one shooting away for them burning it all down again. What's your take on that? You think I'm hyperbolic, or do you see the writing on the wall?
No, man. If they want it, to happen, like they being the powers that be. Those riots in 2020 were so organized across all of the Midwest and major cities elsewhere too. But like Midwest, we got hammered with like random smaller towns that have all of a sudden it's like, hey, there's 2,000-3,000 people here, and they're all throwing bricks and bottles of piss at cops. It's like, holy crap! Like, how did this all happen? How was it so coordinated? So like, yeah, absolutely. We are always one shooting away from them pushing the button and organizing that same response. Now, I will say, like, you know, it changed my perspective too, going through that. And I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy. But like I said, I think the biggest thing to look at is if you're not willing to do it, then don't be doing traffic stops, you know, and then don't put yourself in that situation where it could be. And also, like, really examine your moral code and what you believe to be the right course of action. Because honestly, like on the job, we could all be the next whatever, right? The next YouTube sensation. So, it's a risk that we take. And like, you just have to really examine like what you believe and what you believe to be true and right, and then act accordingly. And then regardless of what happens with like legal fallout or whatever, like you can sleep with what you did. And that I think is more important than anything, you know, like you can always be, and that's like, we forget too, being cops a lot of times, like the line for us is going over one way or the other is razor thin a lot of times, you know?
Oh, I wonder if they should call it like the thin blue line or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
How do people follow you? Where can we follow you at?
So you can get on my Instagram, is probably the best way. It's Anthony_at Heroic Industries, or Heroic Industries on Instagram. I also just started if you heard of School, it's this like online platform for like training. It's super cool. I've had several of these, but this one's like the easiest thing to do. But if you follow the links on my Instagram, you can click through to join my free School account. And that is, yeah, there we go. So actually the link there is old. That's my, so I didn't update it yet, but as of today, I'll get that School link put up, and then you can access that community. That's probably the best way to ask questions or engage. It's all law enforcement based, like, you know, training platform, that kind of stuff. So that's it.
Michael Hendricks in the chat says, I said something racist. I said thin blue line, and they're blowing the whistle on me. I apologize. I take it all back. I have felt very racist this week. My book was in its final edit, and they didn't like the use of the N-word in it, and so there was a lot of back and discussion. But it was the editor that had a problem with it, not actually the publishing house, because it wasn't me saying the N-word; it was people quoting the N-word in the inner cities, and it's just a word that they use a lot, and so, you know, putting it in a book, but the editor felt like it wasn't appropriate for a white person to write the N-word and wanted me to come up with another word. My argument to that is that there's no other word in the English dictionary or English language that elicits an emotional response like that word does. And so it's important to the readers to know that when cops hear the N-word, just like anybody hears the N-word, whether it's a black person using it, a white person, a Hispanic, an Asian, when you hear that word, it makes you feel a type of way. If I call you a bitch, that doesn't really do much to you. But if I call you the N-word, you might be like, it makes you shudder. It elicits an emotional response. It doesn't matter. And so I thought it was important because, you know, as officers, we have to deal with those emotional responses and how we react to them. And so I thought it was important. And so we had a meeting this week, and it was the final meeting of the book, and they agreed with me, and they agreed with the context in which it was used. So you saying that the thin blue line was racist, it made me feel weird, made me feel bad, because I felt like, am I racist? Like, should I be writing the N-word in this book? By the way, it's a comedy. It's called Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. It's probably the first ever police comedy ever written. So it is very funny, and I think I think cops are going to get a good time laughing at it, and I think civilians are really going to laugh at it. So a lot of people in the chat. So Nico the Greco, Chris Dreyer, Forever Road Podcast. Let's see, Deadleg Armory Knights. Will Cray, David J, Frying Tiger, lots of wacky shirts going on in the GR. I'm guessing that was Grand Rapids. And I think you must be talking about the turtleneck that the guy was wearing, if I'm right, because I did think that turtleneck was a little over the top.
Well, it is very cold there. I mean, I grew up there. A lot of snow. It's kind of like Buffalo, like tons of lake effect. So I'll give them that.
I've never been there, but every video I see at a Grand Rapids, it looks like you guys are still like maybe in the early 90s. Like you guys just haven't caught up with the rest of the world yet. Like maybe the Verb, or whatever that band was, is like just now, like they're just now hearing that song from the Verve in Michigan.
The Verve pipe.
Yeah. like they're like the new #1 hit.
Yeah, that was high school, man. That was high school.
Joe Russo in the chats. Thank you for being here. Kingslayer, Damocles, Naichken, Joe Russo. Thank you guys all so much. I'm not going to go on up here forever. Brendan, Central Florida. Thank you guys for all being in the chats. We really appreciate y'all. Thank you, Anthony, for being here. For everybody that's listening live on podcast, please hit that like and subscribe button or leave us a 5-star rating or review. That's the most important thing you can do. Check out Anti-Hero Podcast, 2 Cops, 1 Donut, Donut Shop Podcast. We have Getting a Grip on Things. We have Night Shift, Top Secret Information Podcast on this network under the C-. All of those podcasts right here in one great shop. Website's coming soon that you can easily access that. New Discord's coming, new Patreon that links all the shows together. That's all coming this summer. So get ready for it. Until next time, guys, stay awake, stay alive, guns up, and giddy up.